Hello and welcome to the Money Chaser podcast. Today we have fantastic athlete Oliver Hayes Brown from the Perth Wildcats. Ollie, thank you for joining us.
No worries, mate. Thanks for having me on.
No worries, no worries. Now it's actually an interesting relationship that you and I kind of have, which not many people would know. But yeah, I'll just briefly touch on that. You and I clearly I represent you.
Yeah,
You make me look good by playing well on the court. Um, and yeah, it's quite a dynamic relationship that you and I have.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think without you, I probably wouldn't be where I am today because you work the phones, but yeah, thank you again. But yeah, it's a good relationship. I
Yeah,
like it.
no, don't thank me at all. But no, it's good. It's good. I like what we have going, and there's so many more
Yeah,
things off the court as well that we're working on too. So it's all
yeah.
good. But so first of all, like tell us about your story. Kind of not necessarily how you got to Perth. We don't have to jump straight there, but
Yeah.
start from the beginning. Where how did you get into basketball? Where were you, and just take things from there.
Easy. So I've been playing hoops for since I was about 7. Um, just sort of local clubs. I played for my school team, Manalize and Meteors, from like grade 4 to grade 6. I never really took it too seriously. Um, but then, sort of around under 12s, I started playing a bit of rep. I played with Mornington for the first maybe year or two, and then I moved over to Frankston.
The Blues.
And the Blues, yeah, the
Yeah,
Blues.
Blues.
And we made VC at Mornington in under 12s, but we probably shouldn't have.
I was about to say
Uh,
I've never heard, I don't think I've ever heard of it.
yeah,
Mornington.
it was
Not to
it was
talk
pretty
trash about
rare.
Mornington, but never heard
Yeah,
of
no, no, no.
a team making VC.
Yeah, it was pretty rare. I think we went like 4-0 in our grading games, but then in VC we went like 0-12. Like it was a terrible season. We might have won a game or two, but it was
Yeah,
rough.
yeah.
And then I went over to the Blues, and it was good. I played with a couple of mates there, and then, well, once again, not really taking it too serious. And then it was sort of around that stage, 13, 14, where I thought, okay, do I want to sort of pursue this, or do I want to just play for fun? And by that stage, I was sort of getting a little bit tired of it, like all the sort of rep trainings and, Friday night games, missing out on parties, all that kind of stuff. So I took a year off, when I was about 14, and that was probably the best choice I made,
Mm.
because having that year off, I was like, oh, I miss it. And I came back. I think I came back to the Blues again. And from then on, like, I sort of never looked back. Yeah, I think it was really good. So I made.
Sometimes you need that. Sometimes you definitely need
Oh
that.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
you you take for granted what you have until it's not there anymore. Like
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I mean, the grass is always greener type thing as well.
always,
So
always.
you always sort of look at, all the parties you missed out on, but then once you actually have all that time, you're like, oh, it's not even worth it.
I wasn't missing anything anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then yeah, made finally got some attention, and made the under 18 state squad, underage. Won that title. I think that one was against Queensland. That was a really big one.
Mhm.
Um,
Who were like the main guys on your team there, Vic?
Kelly Lepepe, Tyler Robertson,
Yeah.
Shawnee Mack. Um, I think Poch.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those were sort of like the starting 5 guys.
Yeah.
And then So we won that one against Queensland. It was a really close game. I think we might have won by 4 points. They were the heavy favourites. And then that was good. Year after, made the team again, top age. And then I believe we played South Australia that year. They had a couple guys from the COE, so they were pretty tough. That was in New South Wales, I think. Won that game. That was pretty good. We beat Queensland in the semi-final. So Victoria and Queensland always have that kind of rivalry.
For me, it's always been like my nationals growing up was always New South.
Okay.
New South Wales. Queensland was okay. Their best player was like Jack McVeigh.
Okay.
From the Jack Jumpers. He was their best player, and he was always a bit of a hassle, but he didn't have much backup. So,
right.
New South Wales for us was like Jonah Bolden, Nick Osglue, a couple of other guys. Yeah, some big names.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the Queensland squad in our age group, I think their whole starting five was at COE.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, they were pretty stacked. So they were favourites almost every year. And obviously we just might have been luck, but I mean, we got them 3
For those that don't know what the COE is, that's the Centre of Excellence for us in Australia. We have some listeners all around the world. So Centre of Excellence is pretty much the top 10 to 15 players in all of Australia. They get sent to Canberra, and they're just in an academy they're like around like year 10, 11, 12 before they head off to college or go to the NBL. So that's like to beat a team stacked full of those guys is very impressive.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. And then made under 20s. That was my last year of States before college. I think we beat Western Australia in the final. Again, they probably had 3 or 4 guys from the COE. So yeah, it was pretty tough games every single year. You know, I think state champs is always tough, but Victoria Metro at least is always a pretty tough squad. Just because there's probably more players in Victoria than anywhere else.
Yeah,
I would think.
Right.
And then from that, I got a scholarship to UC Riverside, with some Australian connections there, like Mike Zeppel, who was a high Vic level coach. And I mean, our team was there was 12 or 13 players on it, and I would say 8 of them were Australian or Kiwi.
Oh, wow.
So it was a really Aussie sort of stacked squad. So yeah, my redshirted my first year, so I didn't play any games. And then second year, I played maybe 11 minutes a game. I think I averaged like 3 on 3 or 4 for something like that.
Yeah.
And then decided to try and play pro. Came home, got a deal with the Rangers, so that was good. They helped me, play 35 minutes a game, which is what I really needed.
Yeah.
And from there, landed a gig with Perth, and
Yeah. All right. Let's slow down. I think you're downplaying a couple of things here. So, first of all, with the Rangers, Dandenong Rangers, coached by the great man Darren Perry, played with
DP.
Myself and Shawnee Mack. DP obviously has a great reputation for looking after the younger guys pre-college and then looking after them when they come back. And then that's his strongest suit, is really giving people that pathway to get to the next level. And for you were put on a pedestal, really, both you and a couple of other players. But averaging 21 and 13, that's not something that comes very often, and obviously for someone your age as well, 21 years of age to average those kinds of numbers in a pro league and in Australia where it's booming is unheard of. You had my phone going nuts, which is a great thing, but hours on the phone for you just hello, yeah, all right, you want to offer him, oh, okay, yeah, all right, yeah, you want to offer him something too, oh yeah, sweet, okay, like just a lot of things happening. So like that was a really big deal. And me personally playing with you, just the confidence to give you the ball, knowing that it's going to either be a bucket or it's coming back out for a shot, is the confidence that every player wants to have in their bigs. And there's not many of them, especially in Australia, that can have that kind of confidence to do what you did. So kudos to you for that, but that put you on the map.
Definitely.
And here you are now with not only you had one offer, you had two offers from NBL teams. Don't need to disclose the second one, but you chose to go to Perth. And yeah, how do you feel overall? Like, what's the experience been like living in Perth?
It's just that another step up. So it's sort of, it's college and then pro. So, I mean, we're sort of training the same amount as college, but in terms of, workload management and sports science, it's just that whole big step up. And yeah, everything's so much more professional, I mean, especially with Perth. They're obviously the most successful team in, I think, the league history.
30 something ridiculous, 32 consecutive playoff appearances.
Yeah.
NBL, from today, 2021, 32 years past straight.
Yeah. It's nuts. Yeah. So to play with them, I mean, is a bit of a privilege because you're sort of surrounding yourself with massive pros and a winning team, I guess. That's proven. Guys. Yeah. New head coach Scott Morrison was with the Celtics, so he's obviously got that pro experience. But yeah, I've only been in Perth a week. I met up with the team in Tassie, just for a little pre-season tournament down there. But I had to hotel quarantine, so I wasn't really able to sort of train or play until the very last game.
Well, let's talk about that last game, because you obviously were quarantined for 2 weeks or just under. So feeling a bit lethargic coming out of everything, you start training with guys, getting your rhythm back a little bit. First game, you get to play, you get the call up quickly, just like, oh yeah, you're playing tonight. Just what's going through your head? Put up big numbers on the night. Like, for those that don't know, it was a double, I believe.
Yeah, 13 and 11, I think.
13 and 11. In how many minutes?
19 or 20, I think.
So in your NBL debut, it's preseason, 13 and 11, 19 minutes, 21 years of age. You're a DP. What's running through your head?
So I wasn't even allowed to really run for that first week of training after I came out. It was more sort of making sure that I wasn't injured. So yeah, they were working me up. I was feeling good, and then that second week, they let me sort of run a little bit, and then it was a bit of 5-on-5 stuff, 5-on-0, full pace, and then I think it was the night prior, we were watching film, and Scott said, that he wants to rest a few players just because, you know, it's pre-season. And he said, you'll be playing tomorrow night. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I wasn't expecting it at all. And then, yeah, I sort of was warming up, you know, and I was like, damn, like I'm actually here, you know. I sort of had that feeling of, wow, okay, I'm actually here now.
Yeah.
And then first quarter came around, maybe the 5-minute mark. He goes, Ollie, you're on. And
Yeah, it was quick. It was instant. It wasn't like,
yeah,
you know, your last 10 minutes of the game, you just get
yeah,
up 30, like,
yeah,
Ols, come on, let's go.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, I didn't try to really overthink anything just because, you know, I was new. I hardly knew many of the plays. So they had me running a sort of 4 and 5, which I liked. But yeah, I just tried to hustle wherever I could, grab boards, just help out anywhere I could, just to sort of, because I don't think the Wildcats really knew what I was, you know. I think they were just chucking me out there to try and save some legs on some other guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to sort of help out and just sort of prove myself a bit. So yeah, it was good.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, you came out with a bang. I mean, you had Corey Homicide yelling out on the sidelines. You had like 5 or 6 boards in the first quarter alone. Just see ball, get ball, put it back in, and one your first bucket, I believe.
Yeah.
Like that must have been a massive sigh of relief. Just
that
after that first quarter, you're like, oh, I can do this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I hit a 3 from Bryce Cotton in the corner in the second quarter, I think, and I was sort of standing there, and I wasn't really expecting him to pass it to me, and he drove and kicked it out. And I shot it, and I was like, please just hit something, you know. I haven't shot many threes for the past week and a half, you know. I was like, just hit something, and it went in. I was like, okay. And then after that, I sort of, I got rolling a bit, so, you know.
Yeah.
And then I came home. I thought I sort of had like 7 and 7. I wasn't really counting my stats or anything. And everyone was like, 13-11. And I was like, oh, okay. I think those are the type of games that you most enjoy. You know, you sort of underthink how well you played, and then you come home, you're like, oh, okay. But and then I came home after that. Called the fam. They were all happy, and then from there it was pretty much straight to Perth. So it was good.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome, man. And talk us through, I guess, the team dynamic, a couple of the guys in the team you're starting to build relationships with. How you feeling with the Wildcats in general?
Yeah, I mean, they've all been very welcoming, even though I think I'm the second youngest in the team. Luke Travers is 20, I think I'm 21. So, but yeah, I mean, they've all sort of helped me fit in a lot. Just because that jump up to a really professional club can be a lot. So I'm just trying to learn everything I can off, obviously, Jesse Wagstaff, who's probably the most successful player ever. I mean, Matt Hodgson, Majuk, all those guys. I'm just sort of watching and learning and trying to add any aspects of their game to mine. But on some teams you sort of arrive and you go, oh, I don't really like him, whatever. But everyone here I think's really cool, so that helps.
There must be a lot of characteristics that Perth ticks off before they sign people. Like even when we were going through the process, like went through a couple of different interviews and phone calls with everyone on the team and on the staff, sorry. And you can tell they do their due diligence to create that good culture and team environment. So I'm glad to know that you're fitting in and everything's going good.
Yeah, it's good.
But okay, so a couple of things that our chasers have asked. You in particular, you have a couple of different ventures that you're working on as well.
Yeah.
Told me you're involved in the crypto space a little bit, in NFTs. So I guess talk to me about it. What was your first NFT that you got into?
So I was obviously at UC Riverside, and I had a mate there, Cal McRae. He was first onto the whole crypto scene, so I was sort of just learning off him at first, and I was like, oh, this is stupid. Like, why would anyone invest in this? And then after learning more and more about it, I'm like, oh, actually, hang on, I might actually start putting some money into this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started putting a bit of money into crypto maybe March. So just prior to that big sort of all-time high. But my first NFT, I think it was a crypto hobo, which is a sort of it's not like a cartoony type thing. It's sort of artwork. And yeah, that was my first one. I just tried to find one that I liked the look of and that had pretty sort of rare traits.
Yeah.
So I got one that had like a 0.87% chance or something. But yeah, I heard about that through a friend, and I thought, I'm not going to overthink this, you know, I'm just going to buy it, see what happens. But I'm still holding it, so it's good.
Yeah. No, nice. And how in general are you kind of figuring out what's the good NFTs to get into and what's the ones to stay away from?
I think any team that's not anonymous, I think that's a big red flag for me, because obviously there's heaps of rug pulls going on, and I think it's a lot easier for people to rug pull projects if you don't know their names or anything like that. So I think that's a big one. I look on IC Tools as well. That's a website that shows like the number of mints, like per 24 hours, per 4 hours, whatever. So if a project's hot, I'll look on that and see sort of how many people are minting it. Is it going to sell out? Whatever. But the problem now that I'm finding is that when a project mints out, you know, sells whatever, 9,000 of them, the floor price is just dropping because everyone's just trying to make a quick buck, you know, and flip these things. So I think we will see like collections come back. I just think, I mean, especially now, crypto's taken a big hit the past week, you know. NFTs, I think the volume's been slowly lowering, but I think it's only a matter of time, you know, until it all comes back. But yeah, I think those are the main things I look for. The roadmap also is pretty important.
Yeah.
If it's just some, you know, 5-step thing that's not really thought out, you know, what's the future of the project type, yeah, all that stuff's pretty important.
Yeah. Yeah, I think even for myself, roadmap is very, very important. Like, there's, you know, if is there a charity involved, or is there, you know, plans to be metaverse compatible? Different things like that. That's the next phase of all this. Is like, okay, my NFTs are great, they look good. There's a little bit of utility to them, but can I be them in the metaverse? That's like, to me, that's really cool. So I'm looking at a lot of 3D pieces of artwork, and stepping into the metaverse. I think I'm going to buy some of the Oculus glasses. I'm scared to get them because I just feel like I'm I'm already strapped to this thing all the time. So I feel like if I get those metaverse glasses, I'm just going to be sitting in there for 3 hours a day, having all my meetings and stuff. Because it's crazy to think about. You know, I can have a meeting with you. You're in Perth, but I could go meet you in Cabo, and we can go to the beach as our little guys. Obviously, it's not going to be exactly the same, but if I can sit in front of you like this and you see a 3D image of me and I see a 3D image of you, and we can play some sort of game or something, like, blows my mind. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, have you seen Ready Player One, the movie?
Yes. Yeah.
I think that type of thing will happen pretty soon. I mean, Facebook's obviously all in.
Yeah.
And they're probably the biggest name. So
that's what makes it scary, is like this is like the social aspect. Facebook is the social kings. They are the reason why we are who we are in terms of the way we communicate and things. So if they're going full on at it, it's extremely interesting to see what will happen. And do you think this is beneficial for humanity, or do you think this is like kind of the controversy right now?
I think there's obviously positives and negatives about it, but I think, you know, if you're in a third world country, you know, and maybe you don't have the opportunity to travel, you know, and suddenly you put on a pair of glasses and you're in Canada skiing, you know, I mean, those experiences, I think, will be crazy for some of those people. I think it can hurt you though, because I think if you start spending more time in there than the real world, I think that can obviously hurt you.
Well, people already do, like not necessarily the metaverse, but people spend more time playing their like World of Warcraft, not World of Warcraft, what's it called, like Minecraft and Roblox and things, where you're building all these like cities and stuff, and you're putting money into it. Like that's exactly what the metaverse is people are buying land on Sandbox, Sandlot, whatever, Sandbox.
Sandbox.
And like this, we're already living it.
Yeah, exactly. I think maybe the next year or two, we'll just see, and all that stuff will be, crazy.
Yeah, it's exciting, but it's also, I wish there was a point where we could just, all right, this is as far as this is going to go, but this is the evolution of the world, and we did it. The kind of talks that we're having now is the same. I saw a cool video, the same kind of talks that we were having 30 years ago or 25 years ago about the internet. You know, everyone doubting it, laughing at it, thinking this is crazy. What is it like? No, this is exactly the same kind of stuff. And it's just the world evolving and moving on to the next big thing. But I mean, I think for now our questions have been asked. I really appreciate you jumping on today for the Money Chaser podcast. We will be having some more interesting people on board in the next coming weeks, so stay tuned for that. But once again, Ollie, thank you very much, and
my pleasure. All right, thank you guys.
I appreciate it.
No worries.